ends already enshrined into the Hall of Fame. Young fans of the Lions certainly knew about a Sanders who wore number 20, Barry. But there was another Detroit Lions great with that great name a generation before, number 88, Charlie Sanders. He played every offensive position on the offensive line, all 5 of them, for the Houston Oilers and the Tennessee Titans. Drafted number 1 in 1983, he was still great 19 seasons later in 2001. Only one other man was selected to 14 straight Pro Bowls. That was Merlin Olsen. Interestingly, they both wear the same number 74. Ladies and gentlemen, Bruce Matthews. Obviously, Bruce and Boots, they're yelling there. The St. Louis Cardinals, alas, have been gone for a little while, but everlasting is the memory of this man at cornerback. Shut him down? Oh, you betcha. A member of the all-decade team of the 1970s, long overdue, Roger Worley. He could do it all for the Buffalo Bills. And by all, I mean over 16,000 yards rushing and receiving. In fact, by leading the NFL in yards from scrimmage in 4 straight seasons, he broke the record held by the immortal Jim Brown. MVP of the league in '91, one of the most productive playoff performers ever. He did it in Buffalo weather, so we called him Thermal, Thurman Thomas. The images of number 66 pulling out at guard for the Cleveland Browns still abound 34 years after he retired in 1973. 15 years there, and the Browns never had a losing record. During his first 10 seasons, starting in 1958, the Browns had a 1,000-yard rusher in 9 of them. Hall of Famers Bobby Mitchell, Jim Brown, and Leroy Kelly. His son Bob is here today to represent his dad, Gene Hickerson. The playmaker. Boy, did number 88 make a ton of them for the Dallas Cowboys. He caught 750 balls, and in 121 of 175 games, he had at least one catch of 20 or more yards. That is playmaking. 750 for almost 12,000 yards, and that's in the regular season. Postseason, he was one of the best ever. 87 catches, including a dozen in an NFC title game. No wonder the Cowboys of the 90s won 3 Super Bowls in 4 years. My own ESPN teammate, Michael Irvin. He's been an NFL lifer, working diligently for the league for decades, began his term as commissioner last September, and what a 2006 season it was. The Colts won a much-earned and much-appreciated and spiritual championship. The Chicago Bears restored the growl as the monsters of the Midway. LaDainian Tomlinson of the Chargers shattered the single-season touchdown mark. The Saints gave New Orleans spirit and hope again, and much more. But one thing that he did not do was preside and attend these Hall of Fame induction ceremonies. So today, he gets to do that for the very first time. And so by that, I think officially, he's the commissioner of the National Football League. Please say hello, sitting back here, Commissioner Roger Goodell.
There you have it, the class of 2007. Stay with us. When we come back, we will hear from the enshrinees. Famers come back and honor the next class, and that's one of the great things that makes this weekend, really, these several days here in Canton, Ohio, so special. As you heard Chris Berman say, over 80 of them here, including Mean Joe Green, the linchpin in that steel curtain Steeler defense. How about the Kansas Comet? Maybe the best pure runner we've ever seen in NFL history. Gale Sayers is also here. And then Troy Aikman. It was his year a year ago, and now he's back to honor one of his teammates, Michael Irvin. We will hear from the playmaker coming up in just a little bit. We will also hear from a player that's going to make this large crowd of Western New York State people very happy, as it will be Thurman Thomas's night also on this stage. Stay with us.
388. Time out. Come on, let's go. They're leaving the flats wide open. Send Mullins deep up the sidelines. You roll out and look for him. When Jamison comes off his initial block, he's behind the linebacker. Just dump it off to him. It's a touchdown. Okay? Let's make it happen. Make it happen.
Look good, because millions can see you on SportsCenter. Upload your sports moment to ESPN.com for a chance to be in your own.
Fans are here. We are set for the intros to the class of 2007. Let's go to Chris Berman.
Charlie Sanders was a monster at tight end. Members from that era at that position, those numbers don't measure a thing. Although when he retired, he was Detroit's all-time leading receiver. Lions owner and chairman William Clay Ford long ago knew of the leadership and inspiration that was the essence of Charlie Sanders.
My most vivid memories of Charlie are really the way he caught the ball. He was totally selfless in giving up his body, and he would make these phenomenal catches. He caught your eye. Charlie is what you look for today in a tight end. He was a pioneer at that position. You knew he was Hall of Fame material. He looked that way right off the bat. He stood out. He had the speed, he had the hands for it, and he gave up his body, and he was a devastating blocker. As far as setting a prototype example, Charlie was it.
Sanders played his entire career with the Lions and was named to the Pro Bowl 7 times. He retired as the team's all-time reception leader and was named to the NFL All-Decade Team of the 70s.
Charlie had a presence about him the opposition was aware of. They never let him alone, and I don't blame him. I wouldn't have either.
Sanders' unique presence was felt off the field as well.
He never bothered with the team meal, and he had a habit of making these awful-looking milkshakes. I'm calling it a milkshake. I think I'm being kind. I'm not sure what it was, but whatever it was, he was able to give his top performance every time. He was always so sure-handed that he caught things in stride. You couldn't stop him. He was a freight train. You couldn't have a better example of the mental attitude and the physical attitude that he brought to the game.
But his legacy extends well beyond the playing field. After his retirement, Sanders worked as a coach, broadcaster, scout, and finally as a team executive. He's been in pro football for 40 years, every one of them with the Lions.
He's a perfectionist in what he does, and he carried those same attributes to everything he's undertaken. His mere presence and being so dedicated to football rubs off on everything. I wish today we had a roster that was filled with Charlie Sanders type people.
The class of 2007 consists of Charlie Sanders.
When Sanders received the call from the hall, his next move was to ask the only boss he'd ever known to be his presenter.
It was probably as great an honor for me to be asked by Charlie to be his presenter as it was for him to be elected to the Hall of Fame. And we really chatted about it quite casually, but we kind of hemmed and hawed around a little bit, and finally it dawned on me that, gee, he'd like me to be his presenter, and I can't think of anything nicer. You can't get much better than being elected to the Hall of Fame. It represents the pinnacle of a career, and nobody can take that away from you. It's great.
Ladies and gentlemen, to present Charlie Sanders for enshrinement into the Pro Football Hall of Fame, please welcome William Clay Ford.
I first
It is an honor for me to be here, and it's also an honor and a reflection on the Detroit Lions organization, past and present. And Charlie brings that position to all of us. He brings that honor. And I'd also like to congratulate the other inductees that are getting here today. As I say, the Hall of Fame is the pinnacle. I'll tell you briefly a true story about Charlie. Happened a couple of weeks ago, and Charlie is coming down the hall, and he's limping badly, really noticeable limp. And I figure, well, he's trying to recapture his youth. He's gone out and scrimmaged with some of the boys. And finally, Charlie arrived, and I said, Charlie, what did you do to yourself? And he said, I was playing golf. Charlie, I play golf. And golf is not a contact sport. Now, I never saw the rest of his foursome, but if they were in any kind of shape he was, he plays a totally different game. Charlie richly deserves to be in this Hall of Fame, and I don't think I'm being immodest by saying that the Hall of Fame is better off for having Charlie. Charlie, help me with the bus, will you? Thank you.
Thank you. First of all, let me give thanks to my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ and his graciousness that I humbly stand before you here today. I've always believed that God had a plan for me and that my life was written long before I would ever realize the outcome. To the Hall of Fame Selection Committee, I thank you. To the city of Canton, Ohio, and all the volunteers that have dedicated their time and their effort, I thank you. And I thank you for giving me the opportunity to share and take a look at my simple but memorable life. Richlands, North Carolina is my birthplace. And at a young age, I learned to challenge myself, even if it was work or chores, as the opponent. The opponent was work, and whatever I was told to do, I did, and I did quickly and quietly. The country, as I referred to it, is a place where a kid could be judged and his character could be judged by how fast he was able to work alongside the adults. It was a place where your family pet may have been the runt from the pig litter. It was a place where your pet could have been a chick kicked to the side by Mother Hen. Life in the country was simple. I learned a lot there. The main thing I learned that, and you've heard it, it takes a village to raise a child. Well, in that village, there were a lot of adults. There were a lot of aunts, uncles, and cousins. And it was everybody's responsibility for your upbringing. Sometimes you were disciplined by people you didn't know. And the worst spankings you got were not from your parents. It was all for one, one for all. But of all the aunts, Aunt Flora, Aunt Arlene, Aunt Dot, Aunt Jean, Aunt Juanita, the Fishers, the Thompsons, the biggest and the baddest of them all was my Aunt Flora. She had no regard for 5 yards hands off. What I learned from her was invaluable. She taught me to work hard, to stand proud, and to give in to nothing. And for that, I am very appreciative. She gave up a lot for me, and I will always love her. Aunt Flora. While all these things were happening to me in my life, my father was serving his country in the United States Army. This after beginning a life as a hog farmer. After service, he worked hard to get his degree in engineering. And at the age of 8, he moved his family to Greensboro, North Carolina, where he'd obtained that engineering degree. He quickly became known as a no-nonsense professor with emphasis on work and education. He taught us everything from washing dishes to cooking clothes. Washing clothes to cooking dinner, I'm sorry. He wasn't a man that talked a lot. If he said it once, he said it too many times. He didn't attend a lot of my sports activities, and for that, I understood. He had many responsibilities. 2 of them sitting out there, my brothers and me. But you knew there was care, you knew there was love. Every now and then you'd see a smile on his face after reading an article in the sports page, so you knew there was a concern. For that, I am proud to say I'm glad he was my dad. And for that, I would say a job well done. My brothers, Nate and Adrian, that are here today, we were a competitive group. We were the mold after our dad. We pulled for each other unless we competed against each other. We stole things from each other, not monetarily, but from an athletic standpoint. They've always been my biggest supporter, and for that I thank them for that brotherly love. Coach McKee was my first junior high school coach. He inspired me the most. It wasn't so much what he did, but what he said. I was preparing to attend Dudley High School, our senior high school, and Coach McKee calmly walked up to me and asked me, "Are you going to try out for the football team?" Without hesitation, I responded, "Yes." He looked at me with a gleam in his eye, smile on his face, and he said, "I don't think you're tough enough." As I look back, I don't think he doubted me. I think he wanted to see if I doubted myself. I since learned that growth is a mental obstacle you overcome. and not just a physical accomplishment you attain. Coach William Furcron, my senior high school coach, was very instrumental in my athletic career. I thank him for all that I learned from him. He was a true mentor, a man that only wanted the best for a young black athlete growing up at such a difficult time. To Coach Boyers, the gentle giant, who with a paddle in his hand could improve your twitch and your quick get off. I still feel some of the things he was trying to tell me. I've been around a lot of great athletes. Time will not allow me to single you out, but you know who you are. And I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for the opportunity I've had to be around and associate with you. Many thanks to my high school teachers. They helped me pave life's way. The Dudley High School Panthers are represented here today. I thank my teammates for their continuous love and support. To the University of Minnesota, a place that provided me with the opportunity to understand that race was not on the forefront of everyone's mind, where the color of your skin would not determine where you started nor how you finished. To Murray Womath, more of a father than a coach, 94 years young, and my first head college coach. He believed in me and my potential. And Coach, you have all my love and support. And some of the greatest assistant coaches, Coach Boston, Coach McGee, are here today. I thank you for everything you contributed. To a tremendous class, memories of the 1967 Big Ten championship team, some 20 plus strong here today, celebrating the 40th anniversary of that championship. I really thank you guys for coming down and making this part of that separation. My love forever. Minnesota, a place where I met Georgiana, the mother of my children, the greatest, hardest working mother I've ever seen. I cannot stand here and say that as a professional athlete, I did not take time away from my family. I want to thank you, Georgie, for your heartfelt support. All of this was made possible because of you, and I thank you for that. All of my children, and I mean all of my children, please enjoy this moment, knowing that I love you very much. To Lee, Angela, we love you both. To Maya, Sharice, Mary Jo, baby Georgie, Charlie, Natalie, Talissa, Wayne, and Jordan. Please know that your mother and I are very proud of you, and we love you. To Mr. William Clay Ford, the man who I've known for almost 40 years, a man I came to respect one-on-one, man-to-man, for what he has done for the city and what he has contributed to the automotive industry. A hard-working owner who deserves to bring a championship to the fans in the city of Detroit. Though those dreams he has haven't happened yet, it by no means takes away from him as an owner, as a human being, as a man. It is for reasons like that that I asked him to present me and then enshrine me into the Hall of Fame. I respect him, his wife, and his family. And this includes the Detroit Lions organization, the greatest organization in the league. I'm proud to have almost 40 years of commitment to the Ford family and the Detroit Lions organization. It has truly been a blessing to remain in one place all of this time and have the love and the support that I've been shown. I want to give very special thanks to my pro coaches, Joe Smith, Rick Frazano, and countless others, Wayne Fonts, my very good friend. I believe that Detroit has the greatest fans in the NFL, and I long for a championship just like you, and I will continue to support the Detroit Lions forever. Thank you for accepting me, my family, into your city, your sports town, your community, and hopefully into your heart. I am not that self-proclaimed Hall of Famer who desired to be in sports. I am a guy that liked a challenge and challenged myself with the understanding that winning is finishing. To my fellow brothers in the NFL, pre, during, and some post players that have put the nails in the house that I had the opportunity to play in, I thank you for your sacrifice. I wrote a poem in 1976 that I think is fitting for my brothers. I realized that I was mentally preparing for a season that my body did not want to cooperate with. The poem is called The NFL, Just Passing Through. Here today, gone tomorrow. If you don't accept it, it's a life of sorrow. Trying to use our God-given talent, being brave like a knight, bold and gallant. Those who can make it feel lucky indeed. It's God's own way of letting you succeed. Our efforts we extend in hopes to win. Some play with their hearts, others just pretend. So give your all and nothing less. Today we win, tomorrow we rest. You're not just my teammate, but my very best friend. Let's play together until the end. Today we hang together, just you and me. For tomorrow is a day we may never see. Earlier I said that my life was written by the one I hold the highest. Like most, I question the bad and I take in the good. There have been times that I've looked back at my life and asked, what if? What if I could change 1, 2, maybe 3 things without disturbing the whole picture? What would that be? You haven't heard me mention anything about the one person who was very important in my life, my mom. My daughter Sharice came up to me in Cleveland as we prepared to go to a fight by my daughter Mary Jo, and she said, Dad, thanks for being my dad, because if you were not, we wouldn't be able to go to places we go and do the things we do. And without hesitation, I looked at her and I said, don't thank me, thank your grandmother. She said, but Dad, I don't know my grandmother. I never have. My response, that's just my point. You see, my brothers and I lost my mother when I was only 2. And of all the things I've done in football, and there have been a lot, there's one thing that I really, really regretted. Many times I've seen athletes, college, professional, often look into a television and say, hi, Mom. I always thought that was special and always something I'd want to do, but couldn't. So I take this time, right here, right now, in Canton, Ohio, at the Pro Football Hall of Fame, to say hi, Mom. Thank you for the ultimate sacrifice. This day belongs to you, for it was written. I want to thank you all for helping me enjoy the best day of my life. And may God bless all of you.
An unbelievable speech by Charlie Sanders, Thurman.
I don't know what to say. You know, I mean, you're hard pressed to, you know, to soak that all in emotionally. I just am. And I lost my mom when I was 13, so I certainly can feel what he feels.
An unbelievable start to the induction ceremonies here in Canton, Ohio. Hi, Mom, from Charlie Sanders. Next to the class of 2007.
6 years ago, you saw Bruce Matthews right here at this podium as presenter for his longtime Houston Oilers teammate and then position coach with the Tennessee Titans, Mike Munchak. You didn't need to be the Swami to predict that 5 years after he retired, he'd be up here again to be enshrined. 296 games plus 15 in the playoffs at all 5 positions on the offensive line. That's unheard of, unless you're Bruce Matthews.
I first met Bruce Matthews in 1983 at training camp in San Angelo, Texas. He was the first-round draft choice that season, and I was entering my second year with the Houston Oilers. It was his first training camp practice, so obviously all eyes were on him, and he didn't disappoint. He came off the ball with such quickness, got into his blocks, great finish, great work ethic. He was amazing. His footwork now wasn't. His footwork was something to watch. His feet were all over the place. He was like a human weed whacker. Despite that, we knew that he was going to be something special. And from that first practice and training camp, I think the coaches quickly realized that because of Bruce's intelligence and his athletic ability, he was capable of playing many positions along the offensive line. His first 5 years in the league, they moved him around quite a bit. In 1988, which is about his 6th season, he settled down, moved inside to the guard and center spot, which gave him a chance really to master one position. He responded with 14 Pro Bowls in a row, made All-Pro at center and guard numerous times, and went on to be a great player for us.
Bruce Matthews was not only a talented offensive lineman, but a gridiron throwback that possessed many more on-field skills.
He not only played the 5 positions inside, he was our snapper on field goals and PATs. He snapped on the punts, which means he had a cover. Now that was some good comedy there when watching him cover a kick. He was our emergency quarterback. If a couple quarterbacks ever went down, he'd occasionally get a snap in practice. He's also our backup kicker. He was, he worked on kickoffs, punts. He wasn't a great kicker by any means, but that's the kind of value he had to our team that we felt he could fit in all those spots if need be during a game.
In 1999, Bruce Matthews broke the NFL record for most games played by an offensive lineman. He finished his career having played in 311 NFL games.
Once it got up into the 200s, I think people started bringing it to his attention, but it's not something he ever dwelled on or that was, that he felt was a defining moment for him or for his career. I think it's something he was looking at now after he retired, wondering, how did I ever do that?
Bruce Matthews played so long that his friend and teammate eventually became his coach.
I acquired a whole new respect for him when I became his coach. So having a guy like Bruce, that as versatile as he was for me, that I can move him around. As a coach, I slept well at night knowing I had a guy like him that can do those kind of things for me. He played during 3 different decades. He played over 300 games, including playoffs. He didn't miss one game because of injury. You knew that somehow he was going to be able to line up on Sunday, and he always did. I think he's the kind of guy that could have played in any era. For 19 years, he was as good as anyone that's ever played the game, and his accomplishments speak for themselves. I don't know if there's ever been another player like Bruce Matthews in the NFL, and I don't know if there ever will be one again.
Ladies and gentlemen, to present Bruce Matthews for enshrinement into the Pro Football Hall of Fame, please welcome Mike Munchak.
Thank you. Bruce and I have a unique relationship. I was his teammate for 11 years, his coach for 8 years, but more importantly, he has been like family to me for the past 24 years. We played together on the offensive line for the Houston Oilers for more than a decade. I played left guard, and as you saw in the videotape, he played everywhere else. His work ethic, his competitiveness, and his passion for the game were contagious. I know that he motivated me to become a better player, and many of his former teammates, several who are here today, would say the same. He raised his standard for all of us. Competitive is the word that best describes Bruce. His desire to be the best is unmatched. He wants to win at everything he does, a sport, a video game, even an argument. He can claim an opinion he doesn't even believe in just to see if he can still win the argument. Classic Bruce, though, is when you're in a car with him and a song comes on the radio, and he immediately yells out the name of the song and the artist. He'd say, Springsteen, Glory Days, bam. And even though no one else is playing his game, he's still competing. But the games that made the games that Bruce made up in the locker room are legendary and are still being played today. Ball master, helmet ball, monkey in the middle were some of his creations. Of course, the rules were made up by him to facilitate his winning. Over the years, he involved many of his teammates in these locker room games. They definitely helped to build camaraderie, relax the players, and ultimately may have contributed to improving their play on Sundays. I think that Bruce's competitive spirit was his secret weapon and a reason why he played 19 seasons. It kept him young at heart. He always found a way to make it fun, and it showed on the field every Sunday. When I retired from playing, I contemplated going into coaching. One of the motivating factors for me was having the opportunity to coach Bruce and to continue our football relationship. This could be potentially a tough thing, coaching your best friend, but Bruce made it easy for me, I think because I let him do whatever he wanted to do. But he was always a professional through and through. I took advantage of his leadership and experience and let him show the other linemen through his work habits what it took to be a pro. It was obviously an honor to coach him. Bruce and I have followed parallel paths during our days in the NFL. We were drafted a year apart by the Houston Oilers in the first round. As offensive linemen, we had similar successes on the field. We shared sweet victories and unfortunately some tough losses. We have been business partners. We were married 2 weeks apart. Our wives, Marcy and Carrie, of 24 years, became best of friends, and our children are like brothers and sisters. Because of our similar experiences, we developed a special bond that goes way beyond the football field. There were many nights after we put our kids to bed that we'd get together and talk for hours. Sometimes we'd just sit outside on Bruce's ranch and have a beer. Other times we'd go bowling or play some one-on-one basketball, which I guess I'll admit he usually won. But during this time together, we'd have great discussions about our careers, our families, and our Christian walks. We were always there to encourage or challenge each other as we worked our ways through life's ups and downs. Now that Bruce is retired from the NFL, these talks have continued over the phone lines. Bruce, I just want you to know I've always appreciated your advice and honesty over the years. You've been a great example to me of what it takes to be a good husband, father, and Christian. I'm blessed to know you. It's hard to believe that Bruce has played in 296 regular season games, more than any other player, excluding kickers, in NFL history. During a 19-year career, he never missed a game due to injury. He has played approximately 18,000 plays. And as his teammate and coach, I have seen every snap Bruce has taken in the NFL. So I know that I'm qualified to stand here today and proudly say, over there sits Bruce Matthews, one of the best to ever play the game. Bruce, you should be proud. You took the talent that God gave you and you used it to the best of your ability. Job well done. Let me be the first to officially welcome you into the Pro Football Hall of Fame family. It is my privilege to present to you, for enshrinement into the Pro Football Hall of Fame, Bruce Matthews.
Thank you. I'd first like to say how honored and blessed I am to be here. If someone had told me when I was a kid that one day I would play in the NFL and let alone be inducted in the Pro Football Hall of Fame, I wouldn't have believed them. I consider it an honor and a privilege to be standing up here today, and I'd like to thank the Lord Jesus Christ for blessing me and my family so much. As much as I'd like to take credit for everything that's happened in my career, I know it was only because of how the Lord blessed me that I was able to accomplish what I did. My part was the easy part. Just go out and use the talents and abilities God gave me. God blessed me with the size, the desire to play the game. He kept me injury-free and brought me many wonderful coaches and players into my life, and for this, I'm very thankful. Let me begin by thanking the Pro Football Hall of Fame and everyone that has been involved in this weekend. My wife, Carrie, and I are amazed at the treatment my family has received since we were named in February, and it's just added to our enjoyment of this weekend. I'd also like to offer my congratulations to my fellow Hall of Fame class members, Gene Hickerson, Michael Irvin, Charlie Sanders, Thurman Thomas, and Roger Worley. And getting to know them and their families has been a great part of this weekend. I'd like to thank John McClain of the Houston Chronicle and David Clymer of the Tennessee for all that they did in getting me elected. I believe that John McClain is one of the most knowledgeable football reporters around, and I'm thankful for his friendship over the last 25 years. I'd like to thank the owner of the Tennessee Titans, Mr. Bud Adams, for all that he did for me and my family in Houston and in Nashville. And I'd like to thank Mike Holloway, Lad Herzig, and Ed Biles for drafting me back in the day. There have been so many great people in the Oilers/Titans organization over the years, and I'd like to thank them all, but I'd especially like to thank Gordon Red Batty, Paul Haas Noska, the late Bill Mojo Lackey for taking care of me in the equipment room. I was blessed to play 19 years and never miss a game due to injury, but I had a lot of help from the trainers, especially Brad Brown, Don Mosley, and Jeff Kaplan. I'd like to thank my strength and conditioning coach, Steve Watterson, for his expertise and especially his friendship. One of my favorite parts of game week was drinking coffee and joking with our head of security, Joe Duggar, who passed away a couple years ago, the night before the game, after the team meal had cleared. And there's so many memories, and I'm thankful for all of them. I grew up in a very athletic family, the youngest of 5 children, and we were very close. My parents, Daisy and Clay Matthews, set an example of excellence, honesty, integrity, and love for which I feel very blessed. Although my mother, Daisy, passed away after my rookie season in 1984, I owe so much to the love and support she gave me and all us kids while growing up, and I miss her very much. I'm thankful for my older sister, Christy, and all the support and love that she's given me, and how she never let me get too full of myself. I love you. My older twin brothers, Brad and Raymond, were always an inspiration to me in how they competed in the Special Olympics. And although Brad passed away in 2002, they've always been my biggest supporters, and I love them very much. I love you, Ray. Many people never had anyone that they looked up to while they were growing up, but I was blessed to have 2 people in my house who were my role models. The first was my father, Clay Sr., and he is without a doubt the man that I most admire and respect in this world. He played in the early 1950s for the San Francisco 49ers, and although I never saw him play, I can only imagine he would have been a handful to play against. My dad taught me about doing what was right, no matter what the cost, never quitting, and what it meant to be a man of integrity. One of my finest memories of the day the Hall of Fame results were announced was 3 or 4 hours later after the phone lines had cleared, and I finally had a chance to talk to my dad. And I said, "Dad, did you hear the news?" And my dad jokingly said, "Yeah, I didn't make it in again. I guess I'm no longer eligible." Obviously, we had a great laugh, and I just want to say, Pop, I love you very much, and I still respect and admire you. My next role model was my older brother, Clay, Cleveland Brown. He is 5 years older than me, so as I grew up, he was the one I wanted to be like. He was and still is my favorite player of all time, and I love to brag to teammates about him. He played linebacker for the Cleveland Browns for 16 years. And the Atlanta Falcons for 3 years, and since the Browns were a division rival of the Oilers, I got to play against him 23 times. Getting to play against your idol twice a year was one of the highlights of my career, and it was always something that I looked forward to. I especially loved to play in Cleveland and check out all the banners and number 57 jerseys in the crowd and see how much they loved him, and still do. I always felt as though I was witnessing something special, something that nobody else had the opportunity to do in the history of the game. My favorite part of game week was Wednesday morning when our offensive coordinator would give an overview of the Browns' defense, and I would beam with pride as he talked about how we would deal with my brother. I had to learn to watch every play on film twice. First time I watched my brother, then the second time I had to watch the guy who I was supposed to block. My hope was that my brother would have a great game individually, but we would win the game, although it ended up pretty even. One of us won 12 and one of us won 11. And as many times as I counted, I can't remember who won the most. Those games proved challenging and that I would find my mind wondering how my brother was doing, and it took me a couple of years to learn how to prepare and play against him. In 1986, he beat me for a sack. And although I hated giving up sacks, I didn't mind because it was to him, although I swore not to let it happen again, and it didn't. I want to go on the record as saying that my brother, Clay Matthews, was without a doubt the best all-around linebacker that I've ever played with or against. There were some who may have been better at one discipline of linebacking, but none better all around. He played outside, inside, played the run well, covered backs, wide receivers, tight ends, rushed the passer, and excelled at all of them. In an era of specialization, he was on the field every play and holds the record for most games played by a linebacker. And the only negative surrounding my induction into the Hall of Fame is that my brother isn't already in here. And all I can say is I look forward to the day when he's standing up here getting inducted, because he's very deserving. He taught me about hard work, discipline, dedication, and the mindset necessary to excel. He was not only a role model, a big brother, but a best friend, and I thank God for him. I love you, my brother. I've been blessed over the years with many great coaches and players that I've had the opportunity to work with. I'd like to thank my high school coach, Dick Salter from Arcadia, California, who made it here today. Thanks, Coach. And my line coaches, Bob DiGiacomo and Paul Weinberger, for working with me as well. Sorry, Coach. I've been amazed by the support of my former Apache teammates, and I want to thank them for being here today and the event in California last month. I must also make a special recognition of my best friend from high school, Big Dave Sam Samarzic, for being such a special friend and keeping the Apache spirit alive. I love you, Apache. Playing football at the University of Southern California was one of the greatest experiences of my life, and I'd like to thank my head coach, John Robinson, who's here today, and my line coaches, my offensive line coaches, Hudson Houck and Jerry Attaway, for all they did for me. Playing with future Hall of Famers Anthony Munoz, Ronnie Lott, Marcus Allen, and my future head coach Jeff Fisher, and numerous #1 draft choices taught me how to compete and made me a better player. And at this time also, I take great pride in the fact that USC has the most players in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. I'd especially like to thank my former teammates, Don Mosbart and Dave Holden, and my roommate from college, Doug Branscombe, for their friendship and for putting up with me. Getting drafted by the Houston Oilers was a dream come true, and I have many great memories of the good years as well as the not-so-good ones. I want to thank the fans of Houston for all their support and love they showed me, and say that there was nothing like the Astrodome on a Sunday afternoon. When the team moved in 1997, it was a big shock to me, but it really turned out to be a blessing, and I want to thank the fans of Tennessee for the 5 great years that I spent in Nashville. I also want to thank my buddy Bob Queen for working out with me in Texas for so many years when the team moved up to Tennessee and I still stayed in Texas in the off season, especially as we were approaching 40 years old. Thanks, Bob. I was blessed to play with so many great players and coaches over my 19 years, but I'd love to thank them all personally. I'd like to thank the team chaplains who gave me so much spiritual support and helped me stay grounded in my faith. I'd like to thank Greg Headington for leading me to the Lord, Mike Myers, James Mitchell, and Reggie Pleasant. I'd like to recognize and thank my offensive line coaches, Bill Walsh, who is here today, Kim Helton, the late Bob Young, Larry Bechtel, Rennie Simmons, and Mike Munchak. Mike Munchak was my teammate for 11 years. He was my roommate in the hotel and the offensive lineman that I aspired to be like. He was my best friend, my advisor, and an example of the man I wanted to be like. His family and mine are very close, and we love Marcy, Alex, and Julie very much. As great as a player as Mike was, a Hall of Famer, obviously, I believe that Mike is an even better coach. Mike was able to communicate to his players like no coach I had ever had, and I believe that he helped me become a better player each of the 8 seasons that he coached me. Introducing Mike for his induction to the Hall of Fame in 2001 was one of the biggest thrills of my life, and I'm honored that he introduced me today. I thank God for my friendship with Mike. You're like a brother to me, and I love you very much. Thanks, Mike. Here we go. God has blessed me with a wonderful wife and family, and so much of my success is due to the support and love that they have given me. We've been blessed with 7 children: Stephen, Kevin, Marilyn, Jake, Mikey, Luke, and Gwenny. You are each a gift from God, and I love you all very much. In conclusion, thank you. I want to say that having your name mentioned with the all-time greats of the game is a tremendous honor and very humbling to me. It is a dream come true, and I'd like to thank everyone, once again, who had anything to do with getting me here. I've never been more aware of how much the Lord Jesus Christ has blessed me and loves me than at this very moment. And I want to thank him again, because that is where the credit is due. Thank you all for this amazing honor. Thank you.
In 19 seasons in the NFL, the only thing that kept Bruce Matthews from lining up on Sunday was the players' strike in 1987. Not bad DNA. Bruce Matthews, Hall of Famer, 19 seasons in the NFL. Brother Clay Matthews Jr., 19 seasons in the NFL. That, my friends, is good building block material. Bruce Matthews in the Hall of Fame. Stay with us. More to come.
Worley was, like Charlie Sanders, a member of the all-decade team in the 70s. Such a golden era for football, as he was a quarterback for 14 seasons of the St. Louis Cardinals. He was fortunate to step in as another Hall of Famer was wrapping up his stellar career. Safety Larry Wilson, pound for pound, perhaps the hardest hitter in NFL history. Larry knew what he was looking at right away. Today and forevermore, so will every fan that comes to Canton. Roger Worley.
To describe Roger, for me, is almost impossible. He was just a complete football player.
The Cardinals used their first-round pick to draft Roger Worley from the University of Missouri. It didn't take long for the in-state product to make an impact on Larry Wilson and the rest of the Cardinals veterans.
It was a little bit different back then. When you were a rookie, you got hazed quite a bit, and Roger went through his hazing with a big smile on his face, and really kind of just fit right in all of a sudden. When you got on the field, you kind of felt like that he'd been there before. Matter of fact, you knew he'd been there before.
Worley stepped right into the starting lineup and for 14 years was a cornerstone at cornerback for the Cardinals defense. He spent his entire career with St. Louis, and during that time missed a mere 5 games. He retired ranked second in Cardinals career interceptions with 40, trailing only Larry Wilson's 52. When Worley got the ball, the one-time kick returner was a force in the open field. But his impact went well beyond numbers.
I think that you have to talk to the opponents to know what their thinking was when they lined up against the Cardinals and Roger Worley on defense. And they respected him. They just didn't throw the ball his way that often. And when they did, as the Cowboys tried to in a very important game, they found out that he could do the job.
It was December 7th, 1975. The divisional title was on the line. In perhaps his finest game, Worley intercepted Hall of Fame quarterback Roger Staubach 3 times in the Cardinals' 31-17 victory.
The thing that I remember about it the most was him stepping in and making a great interception to kill a drive. How it alone pumped up our football team. The rest of the team might as well not done that much because Roger was out there and we were going to win that football game.
In his final home game, Worley, always a crowd favorite in St. Louis, left his hometown fans a parting gift.
My most vivid memory of Roger Worley is the last year of his career when he faked the field goal and ran with it. That to me was kind of the epitome of, man, I've gone 14 years and I can still do it.
All told, the 7-time Pro Bowler and member of the 1970s All-Decade team will become only the 8th pure cornerback inducted into the Pro Football Hall of Fame.
He was an example of what the game of football is all about. He's just a complete player. And to boot, he is a fantastic person. And I think that's why so many people in the National Football League look at Roger Worley and go, wow, it's time.
Ladies and gentlemen, to present Roger Worley for enshrinement into the Pro Football Hall of Fame, please welcome Larry Wilson.
Thank you. Thank you. I would first like to thank Roger for inviting me to represent this huge group of people here tonight. I feel very honored to do that. You know, we've just witnessed some of Roger's fantastic plays that he made in his 14-year career with the St. Louis Cardinals. His playing football ability speaks for itself. It's his inner soul that I'd like to talk about for a moment or two. In the day when people and players talk about me, look at me, I can dance, Roger was a we person. He was a team player. He was unselfish, was not just on the football field, but has always been a part of his daily life. Roger has the highest morals of anyone I've ever met. His love of his family, his dedication to his church and community, and his appreciation for his friends, teammates, and foes are unwavering in all of his life. When learning of his selection to Pro Football Hall of Fame, teammate and friend Keith Wertman said, "Football's George Bailey has finally got his day," and he has. Since 1982, the year Roger retired, Roger has always been a Hall of Famer for a lot of us. I think Roger's experienced the outflow of appreciation and love throughout the country. But I believe that he's really felt it in Missouri. Here's a guy that played his high school football, his college football, and his pro career all in the same state, Missouri. He is a true Missourian. You know, the pride of Roger's selection runs a large gamut, and the Cardinal organization is filled with pride about Roger's selection. Their owner, Bill Bidwell, their president, Michael Bidwell, are here today and wishing Roger the best. When I left, friends like John Omohundro, Jim Shear, Mark Allmeyer, the guys that really worked down in the locker room, were all excited about give Roger a big kick when you get there. And there's one other fellow that I must mention that his pride is fantastic. There's a guy by the name of Greg Gladishevsky that works for the Cardinals, who is really instrumental in taking care of a lot of us older guys. Roger's name will be added to the Ring of Honor at the Cardinals' new stadium in Glendale, Arizona this year, and we're looking forward to that. You know, pro football has a great history and tradition, and what a great feeling to be standing here in the midst of that history tonight. But it's people like Bernie Miklasz, a columnist for St. Louis Post-Dispatch, who balance the present and the past. I know what great pride Bernie has this evening in Roger's selection. The man and Roger have been tremendous, and I congratulate you here this evening. And sit down and write something that you'd really like to say about him. But here is a guy that you'd love to have to be your friend. You'd love to be with him on the football field. You'd like to be with him out on the fishing hole. You'd just like to be with him. And it's with great pride I'd like to present to you tonight and to the Hall of Fame, Roger Worley.
Roger Worley going in with his secondary teammate, Tom, Larry Wilson.
Yeah, I think one of the themes that we're hearing, we always hear the contribution of family members and teammates and people along the way, but great friends.
Yeah.
You know, as we're watching this ceremony, great friends being introduced by other great friends.
Only the third member of the St. Louis Cardinals to play their entire career in the city of St. Louis to be inducted into the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Let's listen into Roger now.
Thank you. And Larry, thank you for that wonderful introduction. I mean, I couldn't have had a better mentor my first 4 years in the league than Larry Wilson. Somebody to look up to and try to emulate. And if you just did what Larry did, you knew you were doing the right thing when I first came in the league. Thank you, Larry. First of all, I want to offer my sincere congratulations to the fellow members of the class of 2007. We first met as a group at the Pro Bowl in Hawaii this past February. Not only are they great athletes, obviously, they have great families that we got to know a little bit. And it makes me proud to be part of this class, to be in there with them. I only had the privilege of playing against Charlie, and then not many times, because we were in different divisions, but one of the toughest tight ends that I ever faced. I'm not known for being a man of a lot of words, and lucky for you, being a Hall of Famer isn't going to make any change in that, so I will be brief. But I do have some people that I want to thank, some here tonight, others no longer with us, but all have impacted my life in some way. I've been asked many times since the selection if I regret that I had not been selected sooner, as though this were a given or something. The Hall of Fame is never a given. Being nominated over the years has put a sense of hope and what-ifs in my mind, but I never for once took it for granted that I should be or would be here. I consider this a great honor that has come because of the work of a lot of people that touched my life and helped me become the athlete that I did. If I do have one regret, it is that my parents, who are now deceased, did not get to see this day. There were no more loyal and enthusiastic fans than the two of them. They were both athletes themselves, so they knew what it took to devote themselves to a sport and to a team. They would be so proud to be here and enjoy this, but I know they're in a much better place than even here in Canton today. Thank you. One of the men who had an early influence in my life, in my football life, was my high school football coach, Richard Flanagan, who is here today with his son. He was able to take a bunch of kids from a small town of about 1,000 people, King City, Missouri, and coach us into a really good football team. He was a tough coach. There were no wimps on Coach Flanagan's teams, but he instilled the basics and the toughness in us that I would be able to take throughout my football career, and I thank him for that. And I thank him for being here and help us celebrate this day here. Thank you, Coach. At the time, though, I didn't think my football career would be very long. I kind of expected to play basketball in college. In fact, I remember taking off those pads the last game my senior year, throwing them down, and I said, that's the last time I'll be putting those things on. Well, I couldn't have been more wrong. I received some offers from some small colleges to play basketball, but it was my success at the state track meet my senior year that caught the eye of the Missouri football coaches that thought I might have the speed and the quickness to play football at Mizzou. So out of the blue, I was offered a scholarship to the University of Missouri, and I took it, even though I wondered if I had what it took to play major college football. What a great decision that was. I was able to step into a college program that College Hall of Fame coach Dan Devine had built at Missouri. What a great coach and leader he was. I was able to mature as a football player and as a man under that program with the help from a coaching staff that was second to none. Defensive coordinator Al Onofrio, my defensive backfield coach Clay Cooper, both now deceased, but two of the nicest men and the best coaches that I have ever known. Coach Cooper was basically the man that taught me how to play defensive back. Coach John Cadillac from that staff is here tonight, and I thank him for being here and for the influence that he and those Missouri coaches had on my life. Thank you, Coach Cadillac. I was married my senior year of college, and we started getting letters from pro teams about the draft. My wife, Gail, who really wasn't much of a sports fan unless I was playing, she heard about the draft. She thought they were talking about the Army draft in Vietnam. In the well, I was drafted that year by the St. Louis Football Cardinals and started a career in St. Louis that I could never have dreamed of. The Bidwell family took a chance on me, and I was there for the next 14 years. And I want to thank them for that opportunity and their support over the years. The Bidwell children, who were kids when I was playing, are now all active in the organization and doing a great job. And we're looking forward to going out there for the Super Bowl when they host the Super Bowl this year. Thank you, Mr. Bidwell, and your family. There were a lot of great players on those Cardinal teams of the 70s. 3 of them up here on this stage, Larry, Jackie, and Dan, and I'm so proud to be included with them here today. Football is such a team sport that none of us are successful by ourselves. It takes a whole team for one person to succeed, and I want to thank those players and coaches on those Cardinal teams and in some way share this with them. I hope they can feel the pride that I have in being here on this stage as one of their teammates. To the electors, and especially Bernie Michaelis, I want to say thank you for this weekend. Bernie, without your excellent work on my behalf, I know this would not have happened. I'm sure it's not easy to sell an old defensive back, but you did a great job, and Gail and I will always be thankful for your efforts. I want to thank the fans and friends that are here from St. Louis tonight in support of me, and I will never forget the time and effort that it took you to be here and be a part of this with me. The fans of St. Louis were wonderful over the years. They suffered through the cold and the rain and the heat and the humidity to support the Cardinal football team and have remained loyal to us old Cardinals who still make St. Louis our home. I thank you for all the cards and the letters and the emails of congratulations. We've saved them all, and they all mean so much to us. Thank you all, St. Louis. I want to acknowledge my family who is here tonight. I believe that God is in charge of all things and of our days on this earth, and I believe that I was elected at this time of my life so that my children, Shannon and Michael, and their spouses, and my 3 grandkids, Lauren, Ellie, and Drew, ages 11, 10, and 9, could be here and share this joy and remember this about their granddad. How special is that? And to Gail, my wife of 38 years, I couldn't have dreamed of a better partner to spend this life with. This would not have happened without your love and support to free me to do the things that I needed to do every year to get ready for the season and perform on the athletic field. What a wonderful family that I have, and I'm so proud of who they are and who they have become. Finally, many of you know me as a man of faith. I believe that God has guided each and every move that I've made. He's put the right people in the right places to bring me here, and I thank him with all my heart for taking a little guy from a little town with little dreams and making me fit to wear the title of Hall of Famer. Thank you all very much, and God bless.
Well, he may be a little guy, but he is a big-time player, 7 times a Pro Bowler. On the 1970s All-Decade team, there you see Canton's own Dan Deerdorf, his teammate in St. Louis, as well as Larry Wilson. Roger Worley now takes his rightful place, Tommy, in the Hall of Fame.
Inspiring.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the word that comes to mind.
It continues. Next up, Thurman Thomas. That's right, Thurman. Get ready. You're next. It's time.
All right, Buffalo. Now help me out here. Help me out here. Let's go. No one circles the wagons like the Buffalo Bills. Come on now. What a surprise. You made the trip down from Buffalo. No one has ever been to 4 straight Super Bowls other than the Buffalo Bills. Very few had a shoot from the hip offense like the Buffalo Bills. And the man that made the K-gun offense go was Thurman Thomas. He could run, he could catch, he could block. His Hall of Fame coach, Marv Levy, certainly knew this, which is why they're here today. Number 34 sure warmed up many a Buffalo winter. He was the NFL's All-Decade team of the 90s, Thurman Thomas.
Thurman runs, breaks a tackle, goes in for the touchdown. Thurman Thomas has scored.
My most vivid memory of Thurman Thomas actually was draft day when we first picked him in 1988. In the first round, we couldn't pick a running back which we wanted. There was some guy there in the second round named Thurman Thomas that we picked. Wow. Once he was in training camp, we began to say, I like this guy's work ethic. I like the way he moves. Every running play from scrimmage where he was the ball carrier, he would take it all the way, run it to the end zone. Even if it was a non-contact drill, it said something to his teammates. Everybody always asks about a running back. Is he fast? Is he elusive? He had one other quality which I think every great running back has. The Walter Payton, for instance, Barry Sanders, was balance, fantastic balance. If you ran into him, you didn't knock him down, you moved him over.
Still on his feet at the 20, gets down to the 15, the 10, the 5, and scores!
By the following season, Thomas had established himself as Buffalo's main offensive weapon. Prior to the 1990s, running backs were not feared as receivers. Thurman Thomas changed that. And in doing so, he propelled the Bills toward one of the most remarkable runs of team success in league history, beginning with Super Bowl 25.
Thurman had a magnificent performance during that game. Had we won it, there's no
NFL running back, one that helped the Bills appear in an unprecedented 4 consecutive Super Bowls.
Well, the 1991 season will be looked at as probably that was the top of his statistical production. So people will remember that. It meant something to our team and to the city, and his teammates reveled in the fact he was the MVP.
Thomas's career accomplishments are impressive as well.
Thurman Thomas led the NFL in yards from scrimmage for 4 consecutive seasons. That is a record that still stands. 1991, National Football League MVP. For 2 straight years, he had more than 2,000 total yards. Remarkable. 8 consecutive 1,000-yard rushing seasons, and he went to the Pro Bowl on 5 different occasions.
But most impressive of all may have been Thomas's durability.
Thurman had that physical toughness, but he also had great mental toughness. As a running back, he played extra games season after season after season. He was the brunt of our running attack, and it's remarkable the durability he showed. There was a real question about whether he was ever going to hold up enough for him to be a viable NFL prospect, let alone future Hall of Famer.
Still on his feet at the 20, at the 15, down to the 10-yard line, breaking down to the 5, and in for the touchdown.
Before he entered the hall, Thomas turned to his coach for one last favor.
I just was aglow. I tell you, I don't know if I was any more excited than at that moment. And right there, when I gave Thurman one of those bear hugs, he reared back a little bit and says, "How about you being my presenter?" How honored I was. When Thurman Thomas is inducted into the Hall of Fame, I think I'll be experiencing a lot of the same glow that I know he will be experiencing. Thurman will be joining a very elite group, and he certainly deserves to do so.
Ladies and gentlemen, to present Thurman Thomas for enshrinement into the Pro Football Hall of Fame, please welcome Marv Levy.
Thank you very much. You know, 20 years ago today, neither I nor hardly anybody else in Buffalo knew who that fellow sitting over there was. And several months later, on draft day 1998, when our Buffalo Bills were in dire need of an outstanding running back, we found ourselves in the forlorn position of not having a first-round draft choice. Well, when our turn to pick finally came, was still available. Well, that prospect that Elijah coveted so much was about 5 feet 9 inches tall, weighed less than 200 pounds, and was still laboring to recover from a very severe knee injury. Elijah was ardently persuasive, however, stressing not only this fellow's abilities, but he assured me as well that the man was a team player, a person of high character. Well, what the heck, I said, let's take a long shot chance on this guy. What did you say his name was again, Eli? Well, it didn't take me or anyone else who loves NFL football very long to learn that his name was Thurman Thomas. How lucky could a coach get? How lucky could his teammates get? I must admit, however, that just 2 weeks after the beginning of training camp that rookie year, I did seek a clarification from Elijah. And Eli, I asked, did you say that this guy has character or that he is a character? Well, our coaches and players soon learned that both descriptions applied. Yeah, this man could really play. And he was fun, too. Unless, of course, you had to play defense against him. Then he wasn't. Most of all, quote, not getting the ball enough.
or about being taken out of the game, even down at the goal line. I also don't believe there has ever been a more complete player at his position than Thurman. Yes, he reigns today as the team's all-time leader in rushing yards, in rushing touchdowns, in 1,000-yard plus seasons, in 100-yard or more rushing games. He caught more career touchdown passes than the 7 players picked ahead of him combined during their career. And amazingly, he ranks number 3 all-time in pass receptions on the Buffalo Bills, behind only 2 wide receivers, and that includes number 1, Andre Reed, who someday, I am confident, will also be sitting on this hallowed platform here in Canton. Well, those were just a few samples of Thurman's eye-popping rushing and passing statistics. But beyond that, as a running back smaller than most, there cannot ever have been a better, a smarter, or a more courageous pass protector. Just ask Jim Kelly and Frank Reich about that. Today, Thurman's wonderful family is here to share this happy occasion with him. His father, Thurman Sr., his sweet mother, Ann, his lovely wife, Patty, and their 4 beautiful children have all been an integral part of our Buffalo Bills family. And I can understand so well the pride and affection they must be experiencing here today. All of them, too, will forever be part of the legacy that endures as a result of Thurman's prodigious exploits. Look it up, Thurman. Prodigious. All right. Well, as I stand here today, I am so proud to be able to say that I coached this young man, and it is my great honor now to present to all of you assembled here and to all of the football-loving world for induction into the Pro Football Hall of Fame from the Buffalo Bills, number 34, Thurman Thomas.
Tommy, Jim Kelly may have pulled the trigger on that K-gun offense, but number 34 was the ammo he used more than once.
Well, this was the guy who was the engine. He was multi-talented, outstanding receiver, runner. And when you see that footage of it, you know, it just makes you miss those days when Thurman Thomas played football and when Marv Levy coached the game.
Yeah, and Marv Levy still coaching. Look it up, Thurman.
Look it up.
Look it up. We're all looking up at Thurman now as this is his moment here in Canton.
Wow. Can I start by saying God bless America? When I think back on my career, a quote comes from a famous book, comes to my mind. It's not about me. My career was successful, and I was able to stand here today because the host of people that contribute to that success. First and foremost, thank you, God, for blessing me with the talent to receive this award, and thank you to the Hall of Fame and the voters for making it come to pass. Thank you very much. Ralph Wilson. Wow. Mr. Wilson, you made all this possible. You treat your players like friends. You treat them with respect, not like an expendable merchandise. Everyone has probably heard that Ralph and I are like family. He refers to me as his adopted son, and I refer to him as my adopted father. One prayer is that we all see is hope Ralph being my brother one day up here on this podium in the National Pro Football League Hall of Fame. There he is. Thank you, Ralph. You're the greatest honor a player could have. God bless you, Mary, Ralph, and your entire wonderful family. Bill Polian. Congratulations to Bill Polian, Indianapolis Colts, for winning the Super Bowl. You took a chance on me. You designed a whole plan that allowed this to happen. You handpicked a group of guys that became friends, teammates, and warriors, and I thank you for that. I bet you never thought back when what a priceless deal you negotiated by putting all of us knuckleheads together. And thanks to John Butler for helping out with the cause too. Marv, contrary to the misconceptions that you may have regarding my expansive vocabulary or lack thereof, I believe that all these years you have made me confused with someone else, and that person would be Bruce. Sorry, Bruce, I really didn't mean to throw you under the bus, but you have come up with some doozies over the years. In the words of Bruce, that's water under the dam. Love you, Bruce. But for real, Marv, you are my inspiration. I wanted to play my best because I never wanted to disappoint you. You made me feel like every extra effort I made for the Bills was a pre-match. Said, why did you spike the ball? I said, Coach, every little kid that ever watches football wants to do that at least one time in his career. And he said, well, that's great. Don't ever do it again. Act like you've been there before. And after that, I never spiked the ball again. So thank you, Marv. Elijah Pitts, you are definitely here with me today. You've always been there with me since 1988 until the day that you walked into that gym in Stillwater, Oklahoma, and said, Thurman Thomas. As a bunch of us guys were playing basketball, you heard dead silence. I'm Elijah Pitts from the Buffalo Bills. I played with the Green Bay Packers and Vince Lombardi. Quickly, I raised my hand. I said, here I am, Coach, right here. So I know Eli, if he were alive today, would definitely be a head coach in the National Football League. And if he was, I can definitely sit up here and say that I would probably be still in the National Football League coaching because I would have loved to have been Elijah Pitts running back. So to all the Elijah Pitts, his family, thank you very, very much for giving me the opportunity to treat me like family. To Pat Jones, my head coach in college. Had it not been for you rushing me over those 4 years, 30 to 40, and sometimes 40 years. And thank you very much for having faith in me in my last 2 years, because there was another talented running back that played at Oklahoma State, Barry Sanders, Detroit Lions, once again, who really taught me the meaning of hard work and dedication to try to be the best player that you possibly can. To Bill Shimmick, my running back coach, thank you for letting me be the player, not changing my running style, and just letting me be the offensive player that I was. To Neil Quillen, my high school football coach back in Missouri City, Texas. Won a state championship with you, Coach. Thank you for everything that you did for me, and I know that you're here out in the stands somewhere. Thank you very much. I love you. Teammates, wow, I can go on and on. Jim Kelly, Kent Hull, Cornelius Bennett, Steve Tasker, Don Beebe, Reuben Brown, James Lofton, Darryl Talley, Pete Messelars, Shane Conlon, Kenny Davis, Leonard Smith, John Davis, John Fina, John Kidd, Adam Linder, Chris Moore, Scott Norwood, Nate Odoms, Glenn Parker, Marlo Perry, Mark Pike, future Hall of Famer Andre Reed, Sam Rogers, future Hall of Famer Bruce Smith, Frank Reich, Butch Roll, and Will Warford, and also Ted Washington, the greatest teammate a family could ever have. Thank you. To the Bill staff, Abe, Hojo, Woody, and Bud, Bill trainers that kept me healthy, you always sit me out well equipped, except for that one time when you played tricks on me with my helmet. And friends from out of town, thanks to new friends and longtime friends. My Buffalo people, Houston, Oakland, Tucson, Arkansas, Orlando, Virginia, Miami, West Palm, Sarasota, Dallas, and South Carolina. You have come all from over everywhere to be with me and my family. We love you all and feel your presence. I can't thank you all enough for spending your precious time and money to celebrate with me here today. In case you didn't know it, I grew up an only child. I met a girl at Oklahoma State, fell in love, and gained a giant new family. My brother-in-laws, Matt, Bobby, Dave, and John, my wonderful sister-in-law, Mickey, and my other sister-in-law are in-laws who we commonly referred to as the Outlaws. My nieces and nephews, you all came and supported me every home game. You hugged me and loved me, win or lose. I may play with you a lot, but I didn't just gain in-laws back then in 1987. I gained a loving, supportive family, especially my father-in-law, Bob, and my mother-in-law, Pat. I love you both. Thank you. Thank you for treating me and loving me like a son and not just a celebrity. I would be remiss today if I did not completely thank all of our troops here in the States and abroad. You have relentlessly fought for our freedom and our safety. You are all my heroes. God bless you, and God bless you all, and bless those of you who lost your lives fighting for our freedom and safety. Growing up in Houston, I came from a football family. My dad, Thurman Sr., my uncle, Grady Cavness, and all my cousins that played. In 7th grade, I immediately had a huge group support. My dad's ago, I miss him. I know he's here today with me. He's one of the greatest sports fans ever. I miss the conversation we've had every Sunday evening following the football games. My grandmother, Jessie Mae Thomas, I know you're here with me today too also. To all my stepbrothers and stepsisters on the Cockrell and Johnson side, I love you all. Big Nanny, Lavelle, you went that extra length to support me. Sherilyn, Chrissy, if I forgot anyone, know that it's not intentional. It's really, really scary up here. My grandmother, Dorothy Cavness, I can still see prancing around the stadiums at all my games because you were too nervous to sit in your seat. You can stay seated today, baby, because it's all good. My mom, I love you, Mom. You've been my biggest fan since I was just a little guy, not once cheered me, showed me the meaning of unconditional love. You have made me grown from a child to the man. Even when I did